Hello and welcome back to the RWBY podcast. I just peeked my mic there right off the bat. Great start. I am the man of 1,000 size mediocrity 4.
It is I, high powered, and I feel like I may have downloaded the wrong first episode of this RWBY scene, the 10-minute long tentacle sex scene with Blake and Weiss. Although was out of left field, was not unappreciated.
This episode is a lot like Taco Bell. The more you think about what's in it, the less good it seems. I'm Dude.
And if you or a loved one is suffering from mesothelioma, you can call somebody else, because I don't do anything in regards to mesothelioma. I don't know why you called this number. I'm Coop.
So Volume 9 is here now. We got one episode, and it's a lot of setup, but at the same time, I think the pacing in this episode is weird. Because on one hand, a lot happens. On the other hand, a lot of that stuff that happens was off screen. And on the other hand, it's really just 4 girls trying to get their bearings for 17 minutes.
By off-screen stuff that happens, what exactly do you mean?
Blake and Weiss reunited off-scrring.
Interesting pairing
Yeah.
that they choose Blake and Weiss to be the ones to walk around, but they actually play off pretty well together.
Well, it's this interesting thing. Well, interesting's not the right word. It's a thing that they actually remembered from Volume 8 that I didn't remember at first, which was the order in which they all fell. Yang fell first, so everyone knew Yang fell. Yang didn't know anyone else fell, and then Blake fell, then RWBY fell. Weiss was the last fall, except she actually wasn't. They don't know that Jean is down there with them too.
That's what the audience knows. I'm kind of glad there's nothing like it. They don't know that too. Like no one's like reading the script.
Like, I'm glad they just didn't really do anything with him at all. Like, they didn't even tease it. I do actually kind of like that.
He's in the opening a lot, but that's the opening.
Cool. Yeah, no, I know. Obviously, they're going to tease in the OP. That's fine. But I'm glad they didn't tease it in the actual episode. I don't know why. I like that a little bit more because they always tease a lot of stuff in the intros. Like, obviously, we're going to talk about the whole Neo's actually a strong, independent black woman.
That's a theory, yeah. I mean, hey, chocolate is part of Neapolitan, so...
Hey, look, we're all going to be passing around the meth pipe for this, so,
We're not in Agartha, man, okay? Keep the meth to yourself. We gotta make sure that they don't realize the Atlantean Hyperborean stuff that goes on when we pass the meth pipe.
Also, Sphere Cucks BTFO'd for this episode. RWBY is officially a flat Earth show.
Okay.
As they are literally in a hollow Hyperborean Earth right now.
Wait. Hollow
Christ.
are congruent?
Well,
I thought they were separate.
Well, there's different camps. I'm more of like a layer cake Earth sort of guy, so like the Earth is flat, but it's got layers. I'm not actually a flat Earther, but
I don't think anyone here is.
To be perfectly honest,
I don't think flat Earthers actually exist. I think it's all just a psyop.
Oh no, I've met some. They're pretty fun people to be around.
Oh, there's a bunch of NBA players too. NBA players, the only athletes dumber than NBA players.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Hey man, give the NFL some credit here.
I mean, the NFL hasn't had Antonio Brown. I don't know if I can give a lot of credit. I'm a huge NFL fan.
Hmm.
There's no other sport that gives you, well, besides professional fighting, that gives you that much brain damage.
Yeah. There's a lot of health risks associated with boxing, especially. But anyway, so RWBY's in Wonderland now. They're not even playing coy with. They have in the opening at least, and in the poster for this volume as well. They have the Cheshire Cat. They have I'm just kind of skimming through now. They got like the chess piece soldiers, talking animals, um, a hookah smoking caterpillar, the winding staircases, the creature in this that's it's a thing. It's called the Jabberwocker, as in like Jabberwock, from Through the Looking
Jabberwocky.
Glass. Yeah, Jabberwock with the eyes of flame. Don't even.
Am I the only one who finds the fantasy world they landed in very underwhelming and boring?
So
I wouldn't
here's the thing. They already lived in a fantasy world. Very, very fairy tale heavy fantasy world. They're just in another version of that. Like, there's only so weird you can get before you get, like, law diminishing returns.
Well, but then that also goes to the question of why did they need to go to this fantasy world in the first place for this volume?
Yeah, so,
To me, that all seems very pointless, because my biggest complaint, besides the fact that the world is boring, and that everything happened way too quickly and conveniently in this episode, like, the fact that all back together is ridiculous this fast. To me, I don't understand that. It's the fact that we have Sad Ruby, and that's exactly what we said in our preview that I did not want, and that multiple of us said that we really didn't want. It's
yeah,
pointless.
the big, gummy tear down her cheek in the opening is, uh, kind of absurd. But, like, I think part of, like, this might just be an animation thing. It might just be the fact that the art style of the setting is not super congruent with the art style of the character models. And it could also be that this is very clearly like just Wonderland, which is something that Alice. Alice's Adventure in Wonderland is like 150 years old, and there's been like 700,000 adaptations of that book because it's been in public domain for a long time. And so it's every like film school student's favorite fantasy to try to like adapt, and then they all try to do it in the same way and they all end up sucking because of it. Which is why even though there's like 700,000 of these things, only like 3 or 4 of them are worth watching. And as big Wonderland guy, like you can even go back on my channel. I don't even know if the video. Yeah, I think the video's on this channel. But like one of the first videos I ever uploaded on the internet was me in a blue suit and black pork pie hat reciting the Jabberwocky poem. That was like one of the first things I ever uploaded to the internet.
As far as the Wonderland thing, I would say it's more like just like in terms of like the references that RWBY usually makes to fairy tale stuff, and I know it's not technically a fairy tale. We had the conversation earlier. Blah blah blah. I don't care. The point is, it doesn't make them all from the same thing all at once. Usually, they're usually pretty separately interspersed.
A lot of it's. I read the Wikipedia article, and this is my understanding of this like great work of literature. So there's that.
Yeah, they intersperse it. They do so vaguely. They hide it under like names of people that don't necessarily line up to where you like have to look up what is this thing supposed to be based off of, because we know it's based off of something because it's RWBY. But this is kind of way more in your face about it than every other thing that they do like that. And
yeah,
that is
correct. I don't think it works as well.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it doesn't. It's not necessarily that it wouldn't work. Theoretically, it's just that it doesn't intermesh with the kind of previous style of how they did things. You know, if they wanted to, were it me, and this is a whole Monday night quarterback thing, obviously, but I would probably say it would have been a better idea had they instead of just doing Alice in Wonderland, like pick any guy goes different place story, put like the Odyssey in there, put some references to that, put some Alice in Wonderland references, put some John Carter of Mars references if you want to get wild and crazy,
Oh
like
God.
I agree. Like the fact that they're, at least as of right now, limiting it to Alice in Wonderland, and then also doing it in a very underwhelming way. Like, it's not that immersively Alice in Wonderland. It's like, it's very underwhelming, and I think they would have been better served if they just mashed it up more with other shit. I would have been like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like this. I wouldn't prefer it. Like, I wouldn't want it, but like a Ready Player One bullshit, like reference orgasm, or reference bukkake. That's what I was thinking of.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
wrong.
Yeah, I
Reference,
saw the thing and I clapped.
reference bukkake. I would have rather had that than like a cheap, boring Alice in Wonderland ripoff.
well, it would have been easily served. Like how like you've whenever you've got like that these stranger in a strange land type stories, you wind up they like walk through these bazaars of all these weird alien creatures and stuff like that. You've seen such scenes and things. Probably it's a pretty common thing to kind of reuse multiple
I
times.
feel like we're
Like
gonna
you
get
have,
that whenever Yang gets her arm back from, the mole man or the rat man or whoever stole her arm.
well, yeah. I mean, you could have it. I mean, I would probably like. I'm trying to think of like a good thing to reference as to how they should have used their references. Like Samurai Jack did it all the time. Like Jack would just show up in some random place and not know what the fuck was going on, and there would be all these strange creatures around that he was just not know how to deal with. Like that was like the very first scene.
Yeah, the
Uh,
fish out of waterness of it. He's like that's the thing about Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and why it's kind of a difficult story to adapt outside of its own like kind of niche children's book medium is that it's really just a story where it's chapter after chapter of normal British girl Alice wanders around, sees a weird thing, comments about how weird it is, goes on her merry way. Like it's not even as like esoteric as something like Dante's Inferno, where Dante will like just wail and complain about like, oh, how could this ever happen? How dare this pope that I don't like be a pope that I don't like? I'm gonna confine him into hell in my Virgil slash reader fan fiction.
to be
Pulls out
fair, if you
lawn
look
chair.
into Dante's political writings, that shit gets wilder than the Inferno. You
Yeah,
I
gotta
mean, also wasn't Alice in Wonderland's author on like hella drugs when he wrote Alice in Wonderland? Like, he was tripping.
that's a matter of debate. Like a lot of
Yeah, I
people
know it's been a
assume that because of
debate.
how weird it is, but like I don't know.
I
I
mean,
mean,
what did
what
they
were the
have back
options
then
back
was
then? Morphine and
you
or
were,
opium? Oh wait, that's the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
drug.
it would be a lot of opium
that would have
and
been
also
basically it.
mercury poisoning. Like I've heard mercury poisoning was like a big
Well,
concern at that time, and
well, inter-
that's why the Mad Hatter exists.
Like Team Ruby's kind of taking things like in stride. I would say a little too well. I mean, it is only episode 1. Like, okay, sure, like they ran into like a pack of talking mice, and Weiss and Blake got attacked by a tentacle monster, and they ran into the Jabberwocky. And assuming that's the Jabberwocky, we're just gonna call it that
It is credited. It is credited because it has a voice. It has voice lines,
Oh,
so
nice.
it's in the credits of this episode as the Jabberwocker.
Yeah,
okay.
and so there's that. I do like how they're playing Weiss as like Weiss is like, wow, I am legitimately traumatized as she like unironically watched like hundreds of people die as she's like in the proverbial sense of standing on the hillside as you're watching your village getting mortared off the face of the earth.
Yeah,
Well-
that's a concern that Vexed Viewer brought up to me. He was talking about this on Twitter. Team Ruby and Jean aren't the only ones to have fallen. Neo's down there too. They do at least acknowledge that. What about the hundreds of Atlesian citizens that should be down there as well?
Yeah. That probably survived, like they just got like thrown off instead of, like I don't know what, the wound vector is on a magical spell though, but
I'm not asking for like a big explanation or like them to factor into the plot, but like acknowledge it. Acknowledge that fact. At least pay lip service to the fact that like and it's not something that they forgot either, because something we haven't mentioned yet is this episode. I think part of the reason why a lot of people are disappointed with this first episode is because so much of it was already released ahead of time. The first, I'm gonna find the timestamp now, but I think it's like the first 5 to 6 minutes of this episode were released like a year ago.
That's like roughly about a third of it, because like
Yeah.
what, 17 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I
yeah,
recall.
that was like the Rooster Teeth, the RT Expo that like happened but also didn't happen at the same time.
Yeah. So we got like the first person POV version of like how Volume 8 ended from Ruby's perspective, how like, and we see everyone just dropping off. We see like Yang falling, and then Ruby almost falling, and Blake catching her, and then falling into the void, and then Cinder kicking her and Neo down, and then her and Neo like kind of duking it out while free falling, because Neo is just like that, I guess.
Yeah, Neo's just a ball of murder, and I love her.
Like, god damn it, girl, we are both falling to our presumed death. Can you please just give it a rest?
No, I have to have the final hit marker. I gotta get that sick final kill cam.
That is how it works a lot of the time.
She wants to play the game.
Just to put like some context into this general vibe, what was the general vibe when they released that cut of the episode? Like, what was the reaction then?
I remember there being a lot of complaints about the art style of the setting and stuff. I remember a lot of discourse around that, which is why I brought it up in our last podcast. Like, I was like, "What do you guys think of this art style?" People were concerned about the way the mice were rigged. They have apparently like altered that since then, and so the rigging on the mice has actually gotten some praise since then. In the past few days. I personally was annoyed by the shoe bill back then, and it's no less annoying now. But I guess it's fine. There's plenty of other stuff in this episode to kind of balance that out. It's not so much of what we know now.
They could have used the kookaburra. That would have been a cooler bird. But it's not as big. But it's a really
Or
cool
just
bird.
make the shoe bill sound like a shoe bill and not like very clearly an actress screaming into a mic, or actor rather. The bird is credited as Richard Norman, so it's just a dude squawking into a mic instead
look,
instead
man,
of
you don't
using
know
like
how
B-roll
much-
footage or something.
You don't
Yeah,
know how much the
you're
sound
not-
effects from Animal Planet cost, okay, man? You know how much they'd have to pay to license those things?
They
Way
are
easier to
owned
just
by
have them.
Discovery.
If you're not gonna get the guy who did Appa and Momo and all the clones from Clone Wars to do the animal voices, then you shouldn't get a guy doing animal voices. I always forget is D. Bradley Baker. If you're not gonna get
Yeah.
D. Bradley Baker to do animal voices, then don't get a guy to do animal voices.
or Frank Welker. Frank Welker's another one that's pretty well known for doing that.
Oh, you know what they should have done? Instead of having it be like anything bird soundy at all, they should have just done that one scream sound effect that constantly gets reused in every movie.
Oh, the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That actually would have been really funny.
That would have been like make it even more clearly a dude screaming to a mic. That I think that would have actually made me laugh thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
The shoe bill is just Dagoth like looking at the RWBY script, and he's like, "Come, Nerevar, my moon and stars. What is this script here? RWBY. What is
Also,
this? These Outlander girls."
something I want to point out. I have no idea if they're doing a thing with this. I just looked up the credit list again. I just skimmed to the credit list again just to make that point. Richard Norman, who voiced the bird, is also the voice of the Jabberwocker.
Okay.
Could be doing something with that? Or is it just that was the dude who happened to be at the studio in the time? Probably working janitor duty that night.
Maybe the shoe bill was meant to be a jub bird and not just a shoe bill.
Maybe. That's whatever, but like I could
Really?
take it. I could take it or leave it.
That's very Fermius Bandersnatch of you, media. I have
Yes,
to
it
say.
is. I am very not Vorpal today, or I'm not very fraptious today.
You see, all these references to these classic novels are going straight over my head.
They're not references to classic novels. They're all nonsense words from a single poem. Jabberwocky.
Okay, let me ask this. Was there anything anybody liked or was impressed with in terms of this episode?
The ground cheese was a fun idea.
Okay, I did like the ground cheese. You're right.
It's like, how does that even work? Is the plant like just rich and that's just one of those nonsensical like fantasy stuff. It reminds me actually more of there's an adaptation of the Nutcracker that had I think it was the Barbie version of the Nutcracker. It might have been some other like animated version of the Nutcracker that had a lot of like fun weird stuff like that.
Can I talk about my favorite thing?
Yes,
I suppose.
My favorite thing was the fact that Blake was not bothered at all by the mice's racism towards her, despite the fact that they were racist towards her for the exact same reason that humans are racist towards the faunas, which she spent her whole life being a terrorist about.
Well, to be fair, she can eat mice.
I mean, she could.
And also the
Hypothetically
if she
entire
wanted to.
I'm just saying, where is the flaw in my logic that I just laid out?
There is no flaw.
The flaw in your logic is actually that the entire idea of doing a theme morally about like racism and terrorism based off of racism and prejudice was abandoned about at this point halfway through the series in favor of instead making it about jilted ex-lover.
Yeah. Volume 5.
So,
Volume 5 ruined a lot of things.
Oh yeah, I remember Volume 5. I remember the
Haunts
sign
us
on
to
the wall that
this
says no fun is here.
It's been 5 years, guys, and it's still
5
haunts us.
years. We've been doing this for 5 years. Hold up a second.
We've been doing this for almost 6.
6, because we started with Volume 4, not Volume 5.
Yeah, it'll be 6 years come November.
Yeah, we had like a whole cast change between 4 and 5. I think you weren't even
Dude was yeah.
Dude was
me, high powered, and media have been here the entire time.
Yes.
Yeah, we had the British guy on for Volume 4.
Yep. Oh shit, that's right.
CJ. CJ.
Yeah, our news correspondent.
Yeah. Well, no, our news correspondent is Toon Radio, the other Robert.
Ah, yes.
I still talk to
yeah.
him. Yeah.
Man, like, there's really not like a whole lot to talk about this episode. It's like, okay, like the girls get back together, and then they run into like this creature, and then they see like the multiple zones you can drop into Fortnite, or insert X or Y battle royale game. You know what we should talk about though, as like I'm eyeing my my crack pipe that's on the table real quick. We might as well just fucking theorize since we were only gonna have Dude for like another 15 minutes.
Okay, well, I'll put the what I would think, not having interacted with anybody who talks about this enough. But what is my elephant in the room in write down is what do each of us think about whether or not this is just going to be a filler arc? Or rather, will Ruby finally ascend to the true anime halls by having a useless filler arc in it?
Yeah,
I
there's gonna definitely be allegations about that. We'll have to see how fillery this arc is, but that no matter how much this arc or volume ends up mattering to the overall plot, just the fact that we're removed from Remnant, we're removed from Salem, we're removed from the Four Kingdoms, we're removed from the Relics, we're removed from the Maidens, we're removed from Ozpin, we're removed from Cinder and all her BS. The fact that we're removed from all of that is going to make this feel like a filler arc. And a lot of people are already saying that, and a lot of people will probably continue to say that, no matter how much this ends up mattering.
I think I watched a bad writing advice video about filler arcs, and it's ticking some boxes no matter how good or bad it is, because like whenever they get back to whenever they get out of the gulag, whenever they win their 4v4 in the gulag and redeploy, that's whenever the story starts. Because like functionally speaking, unless we have cutaways to what's going on in Remnant, like the story in Remnant's paused right now. It's on pause. They're in like a time.
Yeah.
They're in a time bubble right now.
I mean, the best they could do without cutting back to it would just be to like have it basically continue on in the background without showing it, and then have them come back and everything's
Yeah, have
switched
like
back.
a time skip with that. They could even do so spoilers for Darwin's game, the manga. Um for anybody who watched the anime and didn't jump into the manga after that. There's an arc in Darwin's game where a bunch of people kind of like get together for this interdimensional competition or whatever, and they have like the fight, and then the main heroes actually lose and become like servants to the people that they lost to, and they end up being like really cool about it, and it's a pretty cool arc. It went on for quite a while, but then things happen and the heroes, the main two people, have to return home, and when they do, like 7 years have passed. It's been a couple months for them, but it's been 7 years for everyone else. I could see something like that kind of happening, but if something like that happens, how is Salem not like already won?
You can't do that.
I wouldn't say it needs to be like a 7-year time jump. I'm saying like it's not even really a time
Yeah.
jump. It's like the time is expended the same amount in both places. It's just that when they come back, other stuff has happened in the
yeah,
short
it's been like a month. Like Volume
Yeah,
9
that-
could like open up with like the Z cast like running the show for the first
Yeah.
like 3 episodes.
Yeah, you got-
that would
you
be
just had-
acceptable. I would be fine with that.
I would be fine with that too. I'll say my real quick. Hold a second. Let me hit my crack pipe real quick. Okay. They're trapped inside of the Staff of Creation. I've now put my crack pipe down.
Yeah, we talked about this before we started recording, but
it
that's
doesn't count unless you're recording.
certainly a theory.
That's a Secure and I came up with that
Yeah.
one. My favorite skeptic.
That goes with a lot of the theories circulating around the black girl that's in the opening, because there's very clearly like some kind of connection between like her and Neo, and her and Ruby, and her and Crescent Rose. We don't really know what's going on with that. She's silhouetted in some scenes but not others, which personally doesn't make any sense. Like if you're gonna silhouette her the entire time. But there's a lot of possibilities. She could be the Summer Maiden. She could be the relic of choice or the spirit for the relic of choice. She could be just
Like a disposed.
she could be one of the Atlas citizens. Like there's so many possibilities.
Okay, so my turn?
Yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
I suppose.
Okay, first things first, I forgot to tell you my real favorite thing about this volume so far, which is not a sarcastic one. No Oscar. Fantastic.
Yep, we
So
got
just
a can
curse us.
we got a transformation cameo via Neo at the very beginning, and that's probably going to be it.
Literally the worst character they've ever put into this show, and they got rid of him for this volume. Thank you. But yeah, I don't know. So far, the more I've thought about this, the more annoyed I am because like there was nothing in the episode that like really pissed me off besides the fact that we're getting Sad Girl Ruby, which again I need to reiterate is completely pointless. It doesn't make sense for her writing, just like it didn't make sense for Nora to do what she did in the last volume. And then the people that do need to go, that if anybody should be upset about what's going on, it should be like nobody seems to react to anything besides Ruby, the person who should be the most positive, and everybody else
Or at the very least, like I don't think Ruby should be happy all the time, but like Volume 3 kind of set a really solid precedent for her character, which is when the going gets tough, she gets mad. Like when Penny was torn apart and everything was falling apart, she grabbed one of Penny's swords, stabbed a bird, and started screaming at it. When she was up against Torchwick and Neo, and it looked like all hope was lost for her, she didn't get sad, she didn't get depressed, she didn't go, oh, woe is me. No, she buckled down and she kicked their asses. Or got her ass kicked until Bird happened again. A lot of birds in Volume 3.
That bird was actually just Raven in big crow form.
Griffin form, but whatever.
So that's the thing is for me is my theory is that this volume will be pretty pointless because even they're not as good as the Avatar: The Last Airbender writers, who even in the most fillery episode that could ever have fillered, the bossing the Ember Island Players episode where they literally just do a play, they watch a play of their own art. That literally is not filler because it shows the characters' reactions to everything. It gives you Aang and Katara talk about their relationship in that episode. You see literal Fire Nation propaganda, so you get insight into the Fire Nation. So even the most fillery episode ever is not actually filler by them. Whereas RWBY, you can have something that's supposed to be plot, and they can still somehow make it filler because they don't know what they're doing, and they continuously prove by what they're already doing with RWBY, that they don't even understand their own characters and cannot keep their characters consistent. Again, I give you Nora as an example from last volume, having her identity crisis, which she already went through off-screen during the Kuroyuri thing, kind of off-screen. They don't understand their own fucking characters, and they've proven that with a bunch of other shit, with how they changed Adam and everything. So it's not going to be anything that's going to be helpful or useful. That's the thing pissing me off.
It's a lack of connective tissue.
They're gonna try to give Neo a redemption arc, for fuck's sake. Like that's the kind of shit I'm worried about. And there's nothing I'm looking forward to. It's shit I'm worried about.
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily that they don't or at one point didn't understand the characters. It's more of it's more like they too quickly resolved some of the stuff, or like steered it in a weird direction. Like, you know, for instance, like Weiss's whole deal with her family. Like, look at that. Like, she got that stuff basically settled when she abandoned them the first time around, and then when they went back to Atlas, she basically had to deal with it all over again.
Yeah, Weiss is like broke now. She's like, oh yeah, the shitty dust. Oh wait, no, they've got all the stuff in vacuum. Never mind.
I mean,
still,
she
like, you know, like
she basically chose to be broke when she decided to run away from them the first time, and actually, she was broke when she disobeyed them at school one time, then got broke again when she, after reobeying them after the school got invaded, decided to disobey them again and run away again, and then came back again only to be like, yeah, I'm glad being broke. It's they hit upon the same point repeatedly, even after it should probably already be settled. And I mean, if you want to get into like some art imitates life stuff, that is basically how like a regular chick who had decided to become pissed off at her family to the point where she continuously leaves but only comes back when she needs money. That's usually how it would work. But it's
Well, Weiss
That's
is
what-
consistently the most like real character of the four.
No, she really is, like, unironically the most grounded character out of this entire series. And
that
I
doesn't make
don't I don't know
it
about the
doesn't-
whole series. But certainly within the main four.
yeah, out of the main four, well, like she's like been in the femur breaking machine. That's an SCP reference for those in the
But
audience paying attention.
Here's the thing, though, that it still points to a huge flaw with this show, which is that Weiss, I think, in some ways has become the most real character in the show, kind of by accident. Because as Coop's pointing out, at least I think Coop's not saying that they're doing that as a brilliant writing maneuver to have Weiss
No,
go
I'm
through.
I'm saying it's entirely incidental due to the
Yeah,
fact that
exactly.
they kind of
And
need to
exactly. And that's the problem. The show doesn't do long form overarching character arcs that are well done. The closest they got to that, as far as I remember, is they kind of did that a little bit with Weiss in the beginning, but then they retreaded her multiple times after that. And they kind of very slowly did it with Ren and Nora's relationship. And then they fucked that up completely too. So the show doesn't do really good, compelling, long form, overarching character arcs that you should be doing in a show like this. Which, again, best example, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Zuko actually had a planned character arc over 3 fucking volumes, the entire show, books, whatever, the entire show, and his seeming breakthrough and then regression was actually planned, and it made sense, and that made him one of the greatest characters in TV history, arguably. And RWBY doesn't do anything like that, so we don't know what to expect in terms of any character development or character arcs. And I was hoping they were going to keep them separate, so maybe we could get some of like the girls' thoughts, or they could be going through something, and they're not. They're already back together. It's very weird.
I'll point that out to you. Actually, there's a pretty easy explanation for that. The in terms of like an arc with development, that kind of so like looking at it, it would be very easy to say that like if we just go back to the example of Weiss and the family drama again, you could say that they pulled the trigger too quick on having her go off against her dad, and so have had to pull it repeatedly because of that. I would say that they didn't pull the trigger too quick exactly. It was that they kind of led over the target too quickly. They did. She was already at that point at the start of the story that she didn't get along with her family. If there was to be an arc with her,
along with her family at first.
Yeah, she should have been like, yes, I'm a Schnee, we're Schnees, this is the Schnee way. Meets up
to be
with
more
Blake.
of an evil racist bitch at the beginning of the show. They actually underdid that. They made her a little bit too likable at first, weirdly.
Well, she gets through that within the first volume. And this was a show that was supposedly from the first volume planned to be more than one volume. I don't know how many volumes they had planned for it, but like she starts with the Uptown Girl thing, that gets kind of brushed under the rug too quickly, and then they have her already at the point just after one interaction where she's already on the outs with her family. Whereas, you could have had like, I would say that Atlas would have been the best point to end it. You have her in the first few volumes. She is she doesn't like people that go against her familial interests, realize they have like certain interests of their own, and that some of her family's dealings are not that great, but she's not like so totally out and out with them. She goes back to her family after like the first 3 volumes, not on the outs with her family, but somewhat more skeptical of them now. They they kind of like they don't abuse her like they did throughout that. They're just trying to like convince her to that, like, she's got these new friends that she cares about, and she's got her family that she still kinds of cares about. The problem then would be that her family doesn't really care about the friends. They care about mostly her and keeping her in with them so that they have somebody to actually inherit the stuff. And so they prevent her from going and trying to see about her friends. And she's like, okay, fine, I'm running around. I'm going to help then. And then after that, when they finally did return to Atlas, that could be when you have the arc for her where she completely breaks ties with them, if you wanted to do that, where she's like, you guys didn't actually care about anybody at all. You just care about the status and the money and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. You could have spaced it out had you planned it from the beginning. And again, this is Monday Night Quarterback stuff. I'm not going to be like, it is remarkably easy to take.
Don't worry, Coop. You're gonna be like 45 years old. You're gonna tell your kids like, "Don't worry, I almost made it to university ball if I didn't blow up my both ACLs in high school ball." As you never actually played football in your entire life or anything like that.
No, I was on the swim team. I got fuck. Do I even have my? It would be great if I knew where I had put my medals, but I was in only 3 meets and I scored first place in 2 of them. And as a last-minute sub for a guy who broke both of his legs.
Oh man, I bet like women were just like passing out and ovulating around you as you walked around in a Speedo.
No, there were no women there. It was all boys.
Sad.
That's rough, bro.
Is not reflective of real life, kids. It's a pure fantasy. You will not score a hot chick who also likes to swim and go around in bathing suits like that.
It's not like that manga about the co-ed water polo team where like the tan tomboy grabs your dick to pull you out of the way so she can score a goal on you.
No.
That actually happens in that manga too. She grabs this dude's dick to get around him.
Yeah, and
What
even
a power
worse
move.
Nowadays, now that I'm like in my 30s officially, I've become so high T that my hair prevents me from being hydrodynamic enough to where I could ever be in any swim meet again. Also, the epilepsy doesn't help because I don't want to have a seizure and drown.
Oh,
but
man.
To kind of like go back to what I was saying before we got off on this weird tangent about my high school glory days. This is like a common thing that despite needing to actually go back and fully rewatch the whole series again, I haven't done yet. In order to kind of cement this better, I have like attempted to recall many of the things, and that is one of the things that I recall about the series is that if you look back on it a lot, the arcs are, if you could even call them arcs, I would say they aren't really like that, but they're too. It's not necessarily that they're too quickly resolved. It's that they kind of start them at the point to where they can resolve them, and then they have nowhere left to go. So they basically need to start another arc, and they start it again at the point to where you can resolve it. Yeah.
Any memories of previous volumes are just a what's the word I want to use for it?
Well, I'll
A,
tell you this:
a
brain damage is
paranoid
a hell of a
schizophrenic's
drug.
fever dream to me.
In regards to this one, even though it does seemingly not have all that much to do with the rest of them, A, we keep going back to the rest of them because this one doesn't have anything to do with the rest of them, and B, I feel like it if it does decide to pop something up that does actually kind of get contiguous with it, uh, I feel like I do need to actually go back and watch it just to have the proper retrospect on everything, and to where I'm not trying to pull vagaries out of my ass.
Yeah, I mean, I do recall most of the things that have happened, but that's because like I
You've got that
just
weird
by
photographic memory, though.
there's my really good memory, and there's also the fact that like because of the nature of what I do, I end up watching it a lot more frequently than the other people here, especially when I was doing like weekly reviews and stuff for all the episodes, which is again not happening this time. I just have too much on my plate to do that this go around. But yeah, but you really are hitting the nail on the head there a bit. Uh, One of the problems the show has always had is this lack of connected tissue. This fact that like all the volumes have mattered to some point, but they've been like kind of slapdash, felt like a first draft.
I feel like
Not a
WoW
lot of
expansions.
not a lot of detail in the character arcs or plot mechanics
Exactly.
that like you can very easily like change stuff or rewrite stuff and it not affect the story at all. And that is the sign of a weak story.
Yeah, and I have to go in a sec, so let me just give my thoughts on this real
Yes.
quick. I totally agree. It's kind of what I was saying before, right? That they're not consistent with the characters, right? And they don't plan things out long in advance. They only plan out individual volumes at best. They don't seem to plan out entire long form arcs, which is what makes the shows truly great and compelling. So when we get to each volume, we don't know what the fuck we're going to get, but we do know it's not going to be perfect. Even when they do something pretty well, they never actually nail it. Like my best two examples are the two most compelling things that I can think of from this show are Weiss's arc in volume 4 and kind of 7, 8, I think it was, like the two arcs where she rebels against her parents, right? Those are pretty well done, especially the one where she actually leaves and goes back to join her team. That was well done, but it's still not perfect because they retread it multiple times since then. So it's fucking confusing. And as Coop pointed out earlier, they should have not pushed that so much in the beginning. It would have been a lot better if it was a bigger shock when she got back to her parents and realized, oh, I actually hate this, right? And they could have done that over a much longer time, and she could have left much later. That would have been so much more compelling and satisfying if they had done that. And the other best example is Ren and Nora's relationship was for a while very well done, but they still didn't do it perfectly because, again, they fucked it in Volume 8, and they should have just gotten them together after the Kurayuri arc. So those are my two best examples of things where even when they kind of do some good writing, like the Kurayuri arc itself was really well done, but then the payoff was fucked, right? And the same thing with Weiss. Like there's some really good stuff in there, some good character arc, but it's still not done as well as it could be because they don't think about it in terms of the entire show and the entire character. They only think about it in terms of this volume. So that is one of the biggest issues, which is why no matter what, this volume will probably be relatively pointless.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, like no matter how good, like even if like I think, dude, you probably get it. Whenever I said like it feels like World of Warcraft expansions.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like even if the story is good, like inside of this volume and we have like moments of this, it's like I think the wider audience of RWBY is gonna be like, oh, it's just a filler arc. Even if they
Yeah.
get some like weird MacGuffin, it's like, oh, did we have to have this like, did we have to sit through a 10 episode long like gulag battle for them to get back to Remnant? Just
Yeah,
because they
exactly.
like spawn out of Remnant with a 3-plate carrier and like
Yeah.
with the gun and perks.
That is the World of Warcraft. I'm like, do we
Uh,
really have to go through all of this just for the humans and the orcs to hate each other again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just like,
Yeah.
that's kind of how it feels like. And
I agree.
look, I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty. Okay, I fucking love Modern Warfare 2. DMZ is great. If you want to play DMZ, if you join the Discord server.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta head out. Sorry, guys.
All right. Have a good day, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Let's talk about the that one girl that was in the at the end of this, and we could probably start wrapping up from there.
The opening.
What? The mystery opening girl. She's a mystery opening girl. I don't know what you want to say about
We
it.
kind of already touched on some of the theories surrounding her, but I want to kind of find that last shot before the opening. So yeah, we have what looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Mario levels to get through, or maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more Mario levels to get through. I didn't see the jagged rocks behind the Candy Island. And I think we might get a different like zone in each episode leading towards the finale. They do give us I do actually like this. They give us a little checklist of things that need to do. They need to find Yang's arm because that is missing for reasons that haven't been explained.
Some hamster stole it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Those prosthesis engineers over in Atlas are really slipshod work from the most advanced technologists ever. Can't even make an arm that'll stay on. Truly the worst possible.
Well, they wanted to give her a rocket punch, so whatever.
Yeah, Yang's upgrade to her arm is just to like give her a fist that like vibrates at some like ridiculous frequency that makes Blake like
that
climax
has been
instantaneously.
the joke since Volume 3. God damn.
That's
Hey, I'm gonna grab that joke and I'm gonna reuse it as much as I want.
She wouldn't even need Blake anymore. She'd probably just cast her off and be like, "What have you got that my fist doesn't have at this point?"
We also need to find Crescent Rose because apparently we're still doing that.
Oh, dude, I swear to God, if that like blacksmith lady in like the little trailer is like, oh hey, check this shit out, like upgrades her Ruby's Crescent Rose, I'd be like, that's something I would bet on right there is a thing that happens. I swear to God though, if Summer is alive in this volume, I'm gonna be like, all right, this volume went from like it took a serious hit.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh
think
god,
they'd
that
do that.
I really hope that's not the case. But because I've said before, like I said before I even started my channel, that like that's the thing that would make me drop RWBY is Summer Rose coming back. If she comes back as a ghost and stays a ghost, I'd be fine. You know, little Force Ghost action. That's
I would
fine.
be fine
but,
with like her showing up in a flashback.
Well, yeah, I
as,
mean,
like-
obviously, like flashbacks are fair game. But like, if she
who
comes
should
back
who
and
should
then
who could-
they save her, just that would really ruffle my jammies.
they find some random mom at Rooster Teeth to be like, hey, I need you to read these lines real quick.
Oh, you know what could happen is she could come back as a ghost, but then they remember that they've got android technology that enables you to shove souls in robots, and they just shove her soul in a robot, no more ghost.
See, that would be resurrecting her. I would not be okay with that.
Or, you know what they could do? They could be like, fuck robots. Why would I want to go back into a humanoid body? Put me in one of those cool helicopter things so I can fly around and shoot stuff. And she comes back as a helicopter thing.
Yeah, turn me into a bomb drone kill streak in Call of Duty. And may Allah guide me to my glorious end.
A sentient super tank.
Oh, that could be the thing. It could have like, oh man, this is like the Giga missile that we've secretly developed that'll kill Salem, but we've got to have a human soul implanted in it. You're going to have to use Summer's soul to completely rip apart Salem with our esoteric Agarthan missile silo.
Oh man, I think we could wrap it up here. Like, look, it's really hard to get like a temperature on this volume until we're like halfway through. So
I did
we
like
only got 10 episodes, so like it's gonna go by like reasonably quick in comparison to other volumes, assuming there's no like month-long hiatuses like they were last couple of times.
I don't see why.
Wait, that
would
was
be.
volume 3. Never mind.
Well, when they've had this long to work on it, I don't know why they wouldn't be able to churn them out at a reasonably decent clip. But like if it is as it has been told to me, only 10 episodes, then it shouldn't take too long. It's I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Let's talk about the opening for a beat.
Oh right. Yeah.
Pretty cringe.
Yeah. It's literally like, hey, let's do the Livesy walk. That's a popular meme. Let's do that. Yeah, guys, let's do that.
I love it when shows will like give their characters wardrobe changes and then rip off Naruto Shippuden opening 16 by showing those wardrobe changes as if those wardrobe changes are an adequate replacement for an actual character arc. Did I say love? I meant hate.
I mean, in terms of like the weird kind of trippy making our way downtown thing, I don't really.
It's not horrible in here, but like this is not the first time that they've done this.
Yeah,
they did this in the Volume 7. I believe they did this in the Volume 8 opening as well. It's like, look at the 3 outfits that we've had RWBY wear over the course of this series.
I think the way they did it there was kind of a little bit better because that was like individual cuts that involved choreography with all of the characters. Whereas this one, it's just like, yeah, we're going to show all of them to you all at once.
And then they rip off like every music video ever by having them like walk in a straight line and just change the background.
It's literally the Livesy walk meme.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Beatles.
Yeah.
Even
It's
worse. I need to sit enough
Arguably,
so I could. I need to sit enough just so I could go to hell to shoot. What's his name again?
John
Here's the
Lennon.
thing. Like,
Yeah, I just want to talk to John Lennon. Okay.
look,
I'll buy that Charter Arms too.
If you're a modern person who can somehow make a thing that heavily references Alice in Wonderland without referencing the Beatles or anything that came out in the 70s, you've probably got some sort of incredible power that enables you to completely resist the most easy temptation there is when it comes to Alice in Wonderland stuff. I'm not going to say that they're bad for doing it. I'm saying that this is a very, very simple thing that it is obvious that they would have done.
But I wanted to address one other thing about the opening. Jeff Williams no longer doing the music. It is now just Casey Lee Williams by herself. That might have also been the case in Volume 8, but I'm not sure.
It's been so long, I can't remember.
But it's butt rock. It's not a bad song, but it's also like just not very memorable. I don't think
I miss the butt rock.
Well, no, it's pretty butt rock, but I don't think I'm going to be listening to this as often as some of the other RWBY songs in the past. But our first question, it used to have a lot. We did a whole podcast. We did like 2 podcasts on the first couple of soundtracks.
Yeah, I think I sat those ones out.
Oh yeah, maybe.
That's what's his name's territory is the songs. You remember that one guy who was on the Discord for a little bit? That one paranoid
Oh,
schizophrenic?
wait. Hold on, what? Paranoid schizophrenic. Are you talking about the Alex Abraham?
No. The other guy that was like, oh,
Because
the
he was,
songs.
because he chilled with us a couple times.
Uh,
I'm gonna be real with you.
Whatever.
Like,
Go to the questions. I'll try to
Yeah.
remember his name.
yeah.
So our first question comes from stereotypical gamer 1708. It's a horrible year, by the way. Did Team RWBY reunite too quickly? Was any potential character development lost as a result? We kind of that was a big sticking point throughout this whole thing, was whether or not they reunited too quickly. But whether or not any character development was lost as a result, I don't trust these writers with taking advantage of that extra time, but generally speaking, it is easier to give a character development if you kind of like tear them away from not necessarily tear them away and isolate them, but if you have them play off characters that they don't normally play off of. That's why Volume 4 got a lot of credit for its writing, was that you had Ruby interacting with Jean, who she had interacted with plenty of times in the past, but also interacting with Nora and Ren, who she hadn't interacted with as much. And you had Tai Yang actually playing a role, so we got to see him and Yang play
the
off
good
each
dad
other.
moments. The good dad moments with Ty. Those are good times.
Then Weiss had Whitley and Jacques, and Blake had Sun, who was another character she had interacted with plenty of times before, but also her parents, who were introduced in that volume. You had a lot of like, yes, we've seen Team RWBY together plenty throughout the first 3 volumes. Volume 4 was like tearing them away, mixing things up. Volume 5 didn't really go anywhere with that. Volume 6 mixed things up a little bit by isolating Jean, Ren, and Nora away from the cast for a while and focusing a lot on Maria and Crow and a little bit of Oscar there as well. Volume 7 had a lot of different team ups that you don't see a whole lot of. But yeah, like potential character development possibly lost, but I don't think that there would have been anyway.
I'd say the possibility was rather slim. Like, could they have developed them? Maybe, possibly, but it's at this point in the series. I think. Honestly, I don't think they would bother really. Um, and if they did, it would be uh, very very likely. Again, the thing that I talked about earlier, where they kind of retreaded some old stuff, like in this fantasy world, they somehow bring up some old things that had been pretty much resolved in the previous one, more or less. There's not a whole lot of new, and to be fair, there's not a whole lot of new ground to tread. Like everything that's been set up beforehand, that the most they could do, they would have to completely introduce totally new stuff to them right off the bat. And I think it's just in a 10 episode volume, there's you're you're asking for quite a lot there if you think you want to do that sort of thing. So I think it's not only there are they likely not losing out on anything that they possibly lost out on in this method would not have been good. So I would prefer they just completely skip over it like they did.
Yeah, at this point in this series, it's like I'd rather them just kind of move past it and just be like, okay, let's
Deal
have
with
these
things
characters
as
keep
they are.
growing closer together. At this point, yeah, just push on forward. Keep the car in drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Next question.
So next question is from Rick's Arts. Ruby seems to be going on a depression arc this volume. How do you think that would progress with the new setting? Like, will the rest of Team Ruby have to go into Ruby's mind to fight her demons? Could the Jabberwocker be connected to her psychosis? or just a good old cheer up speech.
I think
we're
that's
not going
watch
we're
Ice
not going
Queendom out of
into her
10, the
yeah
question.
we're not going into her mind. That's for Ice Queendom season 2, which is never going to happen. Thank God. But I don't know if they're really going into. I think it will just be like a cheer up speech. I don't think the Jabberwocker is connected to that at all. I think the
At
Jabberwocker
worst,
I think the Jabberwocker is just going to be like, if anything, connected to Yang because it was kind of like harassing her. But yeah.
I mean, her entire depression thing was because she found that one silver-eyed dude inside of the monster deal, right? Like that's basically it. And plus,
Yeah, that
was
was
that a
part of it.
thing? Was that a thing that like Yang recognized that the person inside that was a silver-eyed? It's been 2 years.
yeah, I think she was like she was freaked out and
Yeah,
traumatized
well,
from it.
Ruby told Yang. They had like a really cute little moment there in Volume 8 after the fact.
Oh
So
man.
if
I'm
if
just
they
worried they're
do
gonna
go
do
back,
like ego death meme on RWBY as like, oh yeah, we're gonna put her in the mental femur breaking machine to make the character better.
I don't know about
That's
all that.
that's not how you develop character, but that is they would do that. Um, so our next question comes courtesy of Peace Out Girl 341. Do you think that everyone's reaction to the situation they're in was kind of subdued? Like, imagine what picking up in a weird place without knowing whether or not your plan worked or if any of your friends are even safe. Ruby just gets up and carries on like her situation is normal. Um, Even Yang initially thought she was dead, so you'd think her reaction to seeing her friends would be more emotional. I think they tried to have that come across with Yang's whole like you weren't supposed to be down here, but Barb just uh, isn't able to sell something quite that intensive, and and with Ruby, like we saw it from her perspective, and we saw that like she kind of saw that there was something down there, and uh she was able to kind of like get her bearings as like it being a forest. She was able to like see it as like just kind of a semi normal forest for an indiscernible amount of time before running into the talking mouse. And we don't see Blake and Yang, or we don't see anyone else's initial reactions to the setting. We only see them like after the fact, which is
Yeah.
possibly a missed opportunity, but whatever.
No, that kind of is a missed opportunity. It'd be nice to like, even if they started with like cutaways of like with all like the individual girls, like Yang dropping in first to oh fuck, what's that place in Warzone? But yeah, um, I can definitely agree with that. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because like they're all kind of like going through the shock and awe, and it's just like, okay, well, there's all this shit going on, and I'm trying to like, there's so much like stimuli coming in, and it's just like, oh well, Weiss kind of takes the lead of being like, oh yeah, by the way, like I just watched like 400 people get hit with fireball, and it was not cool out of 10. So
Oh, that just made me think of something actually, because isn't it like most of like these civilians and stuff don't have auras or anything?
Yeah, that was a theory I mentioned on Discord, where like
Yeah, so if they had
maybe they fell
fallen
to
like
their
three
death.
trillion
Yeah,
feet, then shouldn't they have just splattered? Aren't they
yeah,
just dead?
yeah,
well, it's like yeah. Well, no, it's the people with auras are allowed to enter Hyperborea. The ones without aura are just in shit. Now I'm trying to remember. They're not. Are they in Jotunheim or what's
What's
what's purga what's purgatory in the tree again? I'm not a pagan because that's
It would be,
heretical.
There isn't really a purgatory, but like
well, Helheim is, or just Hell
Helheim.
period,
Yeah,
is kind of like that.
Did they just die? Did they just went to the afterlife?
yeah.
They're instead of being in Hollow Earth, they're actually just in Valhalla, and it's really fucked up.
Yeah, Team Ruby and Neo and Jean got to go to Valhalla. Everyone else went to Helheim.
Something along those lines, yeah.
God,
perhaps.
what a shitty Valhalla. There's no like cute redheaded / blonde Valkyries that I can breed with after
And that'll
fighting all day long.
that'll step on you until you mash circle fast enough.
Yes, that'll stomp on my balls until I coom.
I
mean,
was
I
making a
can't
God of War
disagree.
reference, but
Yes,
too,
I
guess.
understand it was a God of War reference, but I took it to its logical and practical extreme.
We're using Northern European afterlife, so I think it's probably closer to Tir na Nog. Probably. Something along those lines.
That Phil Leno picked GF to run around naked with the blue tattoos. Sad. Where's my gun?
Look, we can
Next
all
question.
just get a girl and put the blue tattoos on her. You don't understand, okay? It's easy, man. They sell
Jesus.
paint at Walmart.
Next question. I almost said next tattoo.
So this one comes courtesy of Rob Carell. How will you think Jean will be done for Volume 9? He's featured pretty heavily in the opening, so we might even get him next episode. As for what he's going to do, he was the last to fall, so he kind of like knows what's up more than they do, or what's down in this case.
I'll tell you exactly what happens is fucking Neo decides that since she's in this strange new land, she has to seduce Jean over to her side with
By transforming into Pyrrha.
something along those lines. Yeah.
Oh, that would be so fucked. I actually want that to happen. Oh my! Because what if Jean thinks he's dead too, and he doesn't see Ruby, so he's gonna think he's dead, and
yeah.
I could.
That
That
would be perfect.
Cool. I would love that.
So
and then they fight Jean to convince him he's not actually dead. He just fucking fell into a stupid world.
Yeah, he just fell into a battle royale. Actually, with John, Secure and I had a good conversation over many cups of coffee, and basically what I surmised what John's gonna be is I hope John just becomes the Terminator and is just hunting down the Jabberwocky this entire volume, and he's like essentially gone like insane. And he's like, "Oh, this is how I'm gonna deal with the fact that I like mercy killed Penny. Is I'm just gonna kill this thing." And that's gonna be like his character arc of like John having to get snapped out of him being, Frank Castle, the Terminator,
Is he going to
John
get like
Wick,
his left part of his face like burned and then get an eye patch? Is that what you're saying? Is he gonna go like punished John?
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe not like the facial scarring or anything, but he's gonna be like kind of like anti-hero edgelord mode where he's like, I'm gonna hunt this guy down, this creature down, if it's the last thing I do. And so I feel like that's kind of gonna be John's arc, is John's just gonna like become, like John's gonna be like Guts after watching like Casca getting violated by like his best friend, and he's just gonna like go around killing fucking demons. That's what I expect to happen is John's gonna have like some weird edgy arc that they're gonna have to like snap
Unfortunately,
him out of.
an edgy arc for Jean would be far too high T of a response for him to do. He doesn't have nearly enough of that hormone to be doing that sort of thing. He'll probably
they're in Hollow Earth now, so like there's no microplastics anymore, so his testosterone receptors aren't being suppressed.
By by passing through the portal, you're saying that all the seed oils have been evaporated from his body.
Yes,
He's
and microplastics.
yes, he's become completely free of the Atlas Incorporated mind control serums.
All right, next question, media. As he's probably rolling his eyes out of his skull right now.
Uh, I was not rolling my eyes. I had my head in my hands that entire time.
You love us for a reason.
Yes, there's a
It's your
reason why
fault.
I put
You
myself.
still need to come down to Dallas so I can, bully
I need
you
to
one
just
day.
go to Texas in general sometime. But
That'll be great.
this is the final question actually. User RV6KV8JQ6R asked, get a better username, please, for the love of God. If Ruby's depression becomes such a problem, who do you think will step up as temporary leader in her place? Now, two school of thoughts. I think, realistically, Weiss would, of the four, Weiss is the most likely to, step up and take command. We kind of saw that a little bit with her little complexes in Ice Queendom, assuming that has any kind of canonicity connections whatsoever. It fits in as about as well as anything else. You also got Jean to consider once they find him, rescue him. Once they are all on the same page with him, he's a
Ruby
leader
is
as
like,
well.
hey, come get these rube titties, and John's like, yes, I can snap out of it now. I don't need Pura anymore.
Ruby asked him to go snicker snack on her snatch. I've been wanting to make that Wonderland reference all day.
John,
all my life
welcome,
really.
media.
What it's actually going to be is whoever this new brown girl is, she's going to drop in and she's going to take over. Like in the opening, she's in front of everyone. She's like their guide or whatever, I guess. I don't actually know, but I just feel like instead of having a character step up and actually get development, they will just drop a new character on us to fulfill that role.
In typical Ruby fashion, it's like, oh, character development? No, we got character development at home. Points at new character in the fridge.
Yeah. That's just where my level of confidence is at with this show right now. I don't like being a negative Nancy, guys, but man, it's been 2 years. I've had a lot of time to think. I've had a lot of time to process stuff, and God, this show is not good most of the time. Still like it, still enjoy it.
Yeah,
I will still continue to talk about it, but God damn, the show sucks sometimes.
If it weren't for this podcast and the amazing friends that I've made through this, I probably wouldn't watch RWBY until after it was all out on a less than legal streaming site.
Well, that's just what I think. My prime enjoyment does come from this, and I think well, it's like I said before. I think that the idea that you can, if you look at the thing holistically, you can see that it's bad, all over. So I would say that it would be a really good idea if we were to. I'm trying to step back and kind of look and see where the roots of the whole thing lie. It's I think I came to a pretty good conclusion randomly during this little episode of the cast of realizing how they've actually retread some stuff. But I would need to because it is very difficult to think about this thing, that sort of thing, when you're watching it volume by volume, as most people do. But if you consider the whole of it, yeah, you can kind of see where they've done some weird stuff, and I wanna get a better look at all of that. and it's not necessarily always going to be me bringing up that same point either. I think there's probably a myriad of things that are different about it that could be cited.
Oh yeah, like after Volume 12 or whenever the series ends, it's going to be wild actually going back and watching it, binge watching the whole thing.
And I
Yeah,
have
that'd be like a 2-day process right there, rewatching the whole thing. But I
without
definitely think we can start wrapping up now too. So Coop, if you could want to say anything,
well, I
as
was just going to say that without even rewatching it, I've already written down a bunch of stuff that I just drew from memory in some notes to kind of reference back to look at it in a weird kind of esoteric lens of things. But but yeah, like if we're done here, we can just cut it short.
the link to the Discord channel will be included below.
Yep,
But
as it always is. As is a link to the Amazon page for my book, The Hellfire Brats, available now with the second book, The Nephilim Strain, coming sometime possibly this summer, hopefully this summer. That's what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for like a June or July release date on that.
I recently purchased a hard copy of that book using an Amazon gift card my sister gave me for my birthday that I forgot about and then remembered I had. So I would highly suggest that if any of the listeners to this lovely podcast have a sister that just gives them gift cards for their birthday because she doesn't know what else to get them, you use it.
I don't have a sister to give me Amazon gift cards. Very sad. Speaking of your book, Media, you want to know what's been living rent free in my head for like the past week and a half?
What?
You know, you said like there was.
I might have to cut. I might have to cut this for the podcast.
No. You don't have to cut it for the podcast. You just need to remind me.
I also have a Substack. I'm writing little essays on Substack now. Kind of just stuff that I could have made videos on, but I just don't feel like going through the whole editing process with. It was just like scripts for videos that'll never exist. So I got that.
Got a Substack?
Yeah.
You want to know something interesting?
What?
I too have a Substack wherein I post poetry that I randomly come up with every so often.
Link that to me. I'll
well, Coop is a Marine, so it's probably poetry about like dropping mortars on like a random village and acquiring
First of all, I am currently a retired Marine. I'm out now.
You got your DD-214? Sick.
Yep, all signed. I am now Lance Corporal Cooper Delaney Martin, USMC retired.
Wow, doxed.
Yeah.
Doxed.
I've always been a face bag. It's been my deal from day one. It's just nobody realizes it because of the cute possum.
Yes. Yeah, actually knowing Coop, it's probably more like animal poetry and stuff.
It's a little bit of everything. I do have like some outdoorsy stuff. It's the name of it specifically is Poems from the Possum Stump, and it is I don't have any set schedule for release for it. It's just whenever I come up with something, and I got a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So I'll hit you with that, and you can put that right up under there if people want to come and check it out. I don't know that they will. I don't know how many poetry fags are in the audience, but
I always assume that they all are. If they're putting up with me, then
yeah, you can put up with a few rhymes in form of verse.
I literally referenced Jabberwocky no less than 5 times in this podcast.
Well, I kept my stuff. I sort of kind of like my favorite has always been stuff by Rudyard Kipling, and I kind of want that to be more my style.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and I recently my dad got me the Wasteland, the T.S. Eliot book, and I do like it. It's not my thing. His stuff is just too long form for me. I can't. My longest one doesn't reach the length of the Wasteland at
Yeah.
all. I don't. But
Well,
it's
I'll give you one reading recommendation, which is Galaxy's Edge, Legion. But let's definitely wrap it up here. So
Yeah,
as I high powered,
that's all I have to plug is my Substack and my book.
hell yeah. Well, the other thing, I joined the Discord. I've been drinking. Yeah.
All right, y'all have a good day, and we will see you next week.